And now, if you want to think about the kind of standard types of accelerators that are out there, you've got the GPU, which is really good at parallel processing, right? And this is what we've been doing for AI for a very long time, right? Even back to the classical AI world. CPUs are the general purpose compute platform. They run your laptop, your tablet, your phone. They all have a CPU and of some architecture or another built into them, and they are what we typically have run enterprise services on for the most part, right? And GPUs have been kind of an accelerator to, for those highly parallelizable visual tasks, things like that. Um, and what we're starting to see is an emerging trend of kind of custom ASICs that target AI workloads in particular. So you have things like Amazon's Trainium, Google's TPU. You have, there's Samba Nova's specialized ASICs and things like that. Those are designed around, specifically to target AI as opposed to the GPU, which was targeted first at being kind of the graphical accelerator for computers. So, um, and one of the things that I think too, as we think about this kind of, uh, if you look at like the history of accelerators and such too over time, is um, there's pros and cons to using those, and we can talk more about that if you want. But and there's cycles and things that they go through, but I'll kind of leave it at that and make sure I answered the original question.
Well, it's prompting one in mind, and this is a genuine one. I like, most of the time I like to ask questions that I know the answer to. I genuinely don't know the answer to this question. If I were to look at a TPU or the Amazon, what is it called? The
Tranium,
Atanium, Atanium,
tranium.
Tranium, excuse me, chips. What do they most closely resemble? Are they CPU based with a highly specialized instruction set, or is it a completely different silicon architecture?
Uh, Generally speaking, they're going to look more like they're going to be closer in relation to a GPU in the sense that they'll still depend on a CPU of some kind in the system. And so you could have like multiple TPUs in a system or multiple traniums in a system, and they would be leveraging a CPU as kind of the to run the OS and things like that. So you would have kind of a they but from an architecture standpoint, and I'm not a expert on TPUs or traniums in any way, shape, or form, but um, so they would be closest cousins to the GPUs since they're accelerators, and then but their architecture is then more focused on the particular math involved in AI, right? So GPUs are more programmable, very general purpose accelerators in that sense. And then as you get more specialized, you are actually designing more for the particular math that you're trying to run. So
Interestingly enough, when you look at the way tensor architectures were built, et cetera, they were actually built to capitalize on the visual processing capabilities of the GPUs that were available at the time. And if I understood your response correctly, you essentially have massively parallel GPU architecture, except its instruction set doesn't think about shaders and vectors and radians. It thinks about the whatever the symbolic language of inferences, right?
yeah, so like matrix math heavy, for
Right,
instance.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, interesting. Well, and I mean, this is something that we have talked about in other TVR webinars. Um, there will be other architectures, and you're seeing that at a massive scale already. And so again, that creates great opportunity, especially for all the other companies in the industry, far be it for me to say, but the people that invented the modern computing industry, aka your employer, the architectures are going to have to be multi-vendor by definition. And innovation isn't limited to pixel pushing. Innovation is, systems level design for optimized outcomes.